You are thinking of losing weight and have tried multiple ways of achieving that, but have repeatedly failed your goal. You feel discouraged and have low self-esteem. You dream about a magical solution that can just fix your problem. You see people looking better, slimmer, more put together, more effective at reaching their goals, appreciated for their looks and your figures. You feel like you constantly stick out like a sore thumb, judged by everyone around you. Whether they are eating out at a restaurant or trying to sit in a chair that groans under your weight. Wouldn't it be nice if you just lose weight simply by eating chocolate? Believe it or not, this is possible, and thanks to this scientifically proven candy trick. Just click the link below and watch the video here to find out all about it.
How does exercise play into satiety? Because we hear, exercise isn't the best way to lose weight, although it may help you maintain weight. A lot of times exercise can actually make you hungrier, depending on how you do exercise. So how do you see exercise fitting into satiety?
Basically, we do know from studies that exercise is not a great way to drive weight loss. Like, you don't want to say, okay, it's time to lose a bunch of weight. I'm going to do it with exercise. And the problem is, as you exercise more and more, your body just puts a rigid ceiling on calorie burn by just making you sit on the couch the whole rest of the day. So you do an hour of CrossFit and then you literally don't move for the other 23 hours a day because you're just wiped out. And so your body throttles back on everything else. And so it really caps how much actual weight loss from just burning calories you're going to get from exercise. So it's never good to just say, I'm going to just keep eating the same diet and drive all my weight loss by just doing more and more and more exercise. That is not going to work. And we do know that for a fact. However, we have all these ideas that are actually kind of wrong. Like, everyone thinks, well, exercise is just going to make me hungrier. I'm going to eat more. I might even gain weight. All of this is pretty much mythical. Like, we have a ton of studies now that show that people do not compensate all the calories back from exercise. Almost universally, people do lose weight when they add in exercise. So there's a couple factors there. First of all, if you're doing any high intensity exercise higher than about 60% of your maximum output, so if you're jogging or sprinting or whatever, you get this extreme exercise-induced anorexia where for an hour or two afterwards, you're just super not hungry. If you don't believe me, just go, just do 20 minutes of sprinting and you are extremely not hungry. Even if you were hungry before, you're not hungry for an hour or two. Now, that doesn't really change your overall daily balance. And studies show that acute exercise, people get this acute exercise-induced anorexia for a few hours if they were doing anything over about 60% of maximum output. But then later in the day, what happens is nothing. People are not eating more. They're not eating less. They're not compensating. They're not eating back all those calories. They're basically just burning the calories through exercise and doing nothing on the compensation side in the short term. That's if you're looking at same day, several days. We have studies looking at, the rest of one day, 2 or 3 days in a row, and you just don't get this short-term compensation that everyone thinks they get. Your appetite is not going to be higher. You're not going to eat more food. You're not going to overcompensate. Even in the worst case scenarios, which is someone who's very, very overweight and very insulin resistant, you might compensate 50% of those calories back that you expended with cardio. So it's mythical that it's going to make you gain weight because you're going to be more hungry. That's not true. What it has been proven to do extremely dramatically is improve satiety signaling. So you get much more sensitive to satiety signals. So people get way more in tune with hunger and fullness. They're a little bit hungrier when they should be hungry. They're fuller after a meal when they should be full. And the long-term effect of chronic exercise is improvement in body composition. Body fat goes down because you have better satiety signaling. Also, so just exercising, resistance or cardio, you get better satiety signaling. You're more sensitive to satiety hormones. You're more sensitive to the signals of hunger and fullness. A couple other things happen. You also actually have less craving and desire for hedonic foods. So people who start to exercise don't have the same reward from donuts and candy bars and cupcakes that they had before. They actually get more liking and wanting for healthy foods, low energy density foods, higher protein foods. They get less craving for things like the high energy density carbs and fats together. So you get an improvement in your likes and wants. You get less reward from addictive, hedonic, obesogenic foods. You get more in touch with hunger and fullness. And then the one other thing, a couple other things about exercise, if you're building lean mass and improving your basal metabolic rate, you're just burning more calories all the time. And at this higher energy flux, you're better able to match energy intake and energy expenditure. So there's this concept about body weight regulation and managing intake with expenditure. And if you look at total energy expenditure, people who are in the sedentary zone where they're only burning like 1.3 times their basal metabolic rate. So you have a basal metabolic rate if you're just asleep on the couch all day. And then you have an additive, a multiplier of that from your activity. So if you're super sedentary and just sit around all day, maybe your total daily energy expenditure is a 1.3 or 1.4 times your basal metabolic rate. So if you're just sitting all day, here's your BMR. If you're sedentary, you're 1.3 times your BMR. But if you can do an extra half an hour of exercise a day and get up to about a 1.7 times your basal metabolic rate, or even higher, you just see people matching intake to expenditure way more perfectly. So you're just basically automatically not overeating. And there's this unregulated zone where the more and more sedentary you are, you keep eating as many calories as you'd eat if you were exercising. And then in order to burn those calories, because you're not exercising, you just literally have to get fatter and have a larger body, your basal metabolic rate. So the main determinant of basal metabolic rate is body size. So basically, end of the day, everybody's burning the same amount of calories, whether active or not. You can either burn them by being fatter or by moving more, period, the end. And so that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So to summarize that though, if you could do resistance training and then be fairly sedentary, or don't do resistance training but move your body kind of all day long, which would you think you would choose for, healthy weight loss and satiety?
Both.
You're not going to choose one or the other. You got to do
right
both.
Down the middle. Yeah. I mean, like if you put a gun to my head and said you can only do resistance or cardio, I would probably pick resistance, but just barely. Like I honestly think they're both super important. And cardio is like improves VO2 max, and cardiorespiratory fitness is one of the number one metrics you can measure in any human as to how long they're going to live, all-cause mortality. Basically, the better your cardiorespiratory fitness, the longer you're going to live. Pretty much a bigger factor than anything else you can measure. So I love doing like brief high intensity cardio to improve VO2 max and maximum output and cardiorespiratory fitness. But then I love doing resistance training so you have better body composition, higher lean mass. Lean mass is how you dispose of all your glucose and get rid of all your calories, and you can burn a lot of fat and carbs in this skeletal muscle. And so you really want both. It's really right down the middle. Like honestly, the whole metabolic health is equal parts getting more muscle and less fat at the same time. And it's equally about satiety per calorie for lower fat, and then resistance training for more muscle, and then cardio so that your energy flux is nice and high and you're just burning through a lot of calories every day. And so you really want to do them all. You want to be high protein, low carb, low fat, high fiber, low energy density, moderate cardio, moderate resistance, daily step count, general movement. Like you kind of want to be pulling every single lever we've mentioned to a moderate degree and add them all together. And I think that's the sweet spot.
The first 20 people who comment on the video will receive our best complete weight loss diet plan.